Hello, 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 everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome to this week's Duchenne Method live stream. So good to have you all here. Good morning. It's 11 a.m. Eastern time. Today is Monday, April 17th. Is that right? Oh my gosh, April 17th already. Hey, good morning, Jenny. Good morning. Wonderful to have you here. Or Katie. It says Katie, but it's probably Jenny. Good morning, everyone. Well, here we are. Another Monday, another day to make a fabulous difference in the world. This week's Duchenne Method Live. What are we doing here? Well, optimally, I am here to hopefully offer you some insights into mind-body alignment. And I do it through a very systematic system that I decided to elaborate upon because I figured in the past 30 years of coaching and over 16 years of somatic therapy work, mind-body alignment work, I discovered 3 simple steps that open up the door to really bringing the fullness of us in life, in aliveness. And those 3 things are very simple. It's about acknowledging first and foremost ourselves. And by the way, whenever I offer any of these insights, I'm always talking about the us, the me first, not in a selfish way, but in a way where we get to work on ourselves first. Because if we're working on ourselves first, it's very helpful when we get to be in social milieus because we've done our interior work, right? Our inside work. We feel confident about ourselves. We feel confident about who we are. We have less negative chatter going on through our minds. So very simply to acknowledge ourselves first and foremost, and then of course to acknowledge others around us, and not just people, but life itself. Acknowledge life as in nature. Acknowledge that there is a higher sense of consciousness in this world, universal flow, rhythmic flow. So acknowledgement. The second thing that I invite you into when we have these lives through my newsletters or any of my courses or programs, it's about engagement. So first we acknowledge ourselves and then we engage with ourselves. We engage by asking good questions. We engage by taking time to notice how we feel in our bodies, because when we listen to our bodies listen to us. Very simple healing mechanism to engage with ourselves. And then, of course, to engage with others in a way that is healthy, that is helpful. And finally, the third step to that is to support ourselves with what we might need in our lives. Sometimes it's extra sleep. Sometimes it might be a delicious cup of coffee or tea, something that supports us if we're having a difficult day. Maybe it's taking a nap, or maybe it's taking a walk outside. One of the things that I do all the time that always helps me. And then, of course, to bring this support around you with your significant others, in your families and your communities. So acknowledgement, engagement, and support. Those are the 3 steps that I've actually experienced with over many, many years that I have found to be super helpful. All right. So today, hello, good morning. Everybody, if you're here, you can say hello in the chat and the comments. It's always wonderful to know who's here with us this morning. And so this morning, we're going to talk about resistance as really being a futile addiction, in a sense, that if we continue to resist, we know this phrase, probably, what we resist persists. So if resistance is futile, then how do we let it go? How do we let our resistance go? Well, first and foremost, why don't we talk about what resistance is in the first place? Resistance is a term used to describe the act of pushing against or fighting against something. So do you have something in your life right now that you're pushing against, or you're resisting, or you're fighting against it? You're resisting, right? You don't want it. Resistance can take many forms, such as physical resistance. You're working with your body to resist something, emotional resistance, or mental resistance. So there might be something going on in your mind that you don't want to accept. And so you're resisting it. The thing with resistance is that it is very often motivated by fear, anxiety, or to avoid discomfort or change. How many of you on this call right now are not particularly fond of change? Change is difficult. Good morning, everyone. Hello, Elise, Chelsea, Henry. So lovely to see you. Yes, you are in Atlanta teaching Zouk. Lambada, Henry, that's fantastic. I'm so happy to see that on social media this morning. So the question is there something in your life that you are resisting right now? Take a moment to think about it. And if there is, maybe share it with us. Let's see what we can come up with together. I know that you, Chelsea, are working diligently on stopping smoking. You've shared it with us in the Duchenne Method Facebook group page. Thank you for that. You've also shared it on Facebook on your page, and it's such an inspiration to watch you go. Beautiful work. Go, 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 Chelsea. We are all behind you. We're supporting you in getting through this smoking time, right? Like quitting smoking. It's a big deal, right? Very good. All right. So resistance will bring up sensations of discomfort. And it's also because a lot of us don't like change. We like change that we want. We don't want to deal with change that we don't want. So, in the context of personal growth and self improvement, which is what we're doing here, resistance can also refer to the barriers that prevent us from making positive changes in our lives. So, sometimes we resist something so much, it actually hinders us from making positive changes in our lives, which is why we really want to stop and think and use these tools that we've been talking about for months now, which are contemplation, to sit down and to look, what are the resistances that show up in your life and why are they showing up in your life at this time? What is it that is hard for you to change? What conversations are hard for you to have in your life? You know, resistance can also manifest as self-sabotage. We talked about that last week. It can also show up as procrastination, a lack of motivation. So if we're resisting something, it usually tends to persist. That's a little bit how that rolls, right? So even though it can be difficult to overcome, because we actually have to confront something uncomfortable. And I think that having Chelsea here today is fabulous because she is dealing with having to stop smoking, or certainly that's something that you want to stop. So there's going to be resistance and discomfort in that. But here's the big prize. If you can overcome your resistance, you're taking important steps in your personal growth, but also significantly in personal improvement. So you're working towards improving the quality of your life. Elise shares, I am resisting setting off on my own, sailing away from the port of security towards the ocean of my practice. Oh boy, that's awesome. So if I'm understanding correctly, are you talking about your personal practice, about your biodynamic craniosacral business? Is that what you are talking about? If I can ask. It's very poetic the way that you put it. I'm just looking for a little bit more tangibility, right? Sailing away from the port of security toward the ocean of my practice. I certainly hope it's your biodynamic craniosacral practice. Yeah. Okay, Elise. Well, you know, we've definitely done some work on that together. I still support you 100%. You can always reach out if you need support in how to get into taking the next step. Sometimes, you know, a coaching session, a revamp a tap in, one coaching session, especially for you, Elise, because you've worked with me for the year-long training. Just checking in, just tapping in to have a refresher, because we do need support along the way. Yeah, I get it. From job security to entrepreneurship, oh boy, do I get that. I understand. And it's scary at the same time. Reach out, make an appointment, just come in for a tune-up session so that we can get a few action steps. Even if you did a check-in coaching session every other month, just to keep you on track, so that by the end of 2023, you've made a little bit more movement forward, isn't it? Yeah, I think it might be helpful. Chelsea says, thank you so much. 32 years of smoking. Wow. Okay, we're behind you, Chelsea. You can do this. See? The resistance is there, and still you are moving forward one sacred day at a time. And I have a really fun prayer to share with you at the end of our program today, at the end of our class today. And I'm sure you've heard it, but we're going to revisit it together. And maybe that'll be an inspiration for you, right? So well done, Chelsea. Do not quit with the quitting. Keep going. We are supporting you. And Elise, I look forward to seeing you on my calendar very soon. Okay, my friends. So from a mind-body alignment perspective, right? Everything for me is mind-body alignment. I work with connective tissue. I help people realign their bodies to get in touch with their biggest organ of communication in the body, which is fascia, which is your connective tissue. So if we keep that at the back of our minds, that the largest organ of communication in your life, in your body, is your fascia, is your connective tissue, how can we best work with resistance as it shows up? Because there's a conversation going on there with resistance. Well, step number one, my friends, approach resistance with compassion and understanding. Because the idea of resistance being futile can be difficult to accept. So, Elise, back to you, my dear. I do want to mention something, because you have worked very diligently to bring yourself to grow your practice, and you made forward steps for sure. And at the same time, my dear, do you remember all of the roadblocks that showed up throughout the year when we were working together, in particular that had to do with your health, where you had to take a step back and really practice the art of self-compassion? Because we were trying to move everything forward, and you did. You started your newsletter, you put your work out there, you got responses, you did have some people inquire, you did have a few new clients, and at the same time, you had some serious obstacles to confront. And so I want to really invite this sense of compassion and love for yourself, right? Because it's difficult. Sometimes we expect something to take a certain amount of time, but then life has other plans for us, doesn't she? So yes, thank you, Elise. Wonderful. Okay, so approach resistance with compassion and understanding. Always, always, always practice this, because the idea of resistance can certainly be difficult to accept, even to accept that we have resistance. Something else, despite our best efforts, my friends, and I know you've been there, we can't control certain outcomes. At least what I just shared with you, we can't always control certain outcomes. We can't prevent certain things from happening or from changing. Hence the approach of being understanding and compassionate with ourselves, especially when we feel like we need things to move faster. I think that there's really something important to say about just letting life move in as at its own time. We're so used to rushing. Everything is about rushing now. Everything is about putting stuff out in the world. Parts of it are working, and then other parts of it are not working so well. So to come back to the slowing down, to come back to the present moment, to come back to checking in with yourselves. And it's also important to remember that we do have a choice with how we respond to resistance. So if you notice the resistance, and maybe it's been a long time going, right? 32 years of smoking is a long time. And to really finally come to a place of saying, okay, this is it. I'm taking another step forward, and to do it one day at a time, because that's what life is. It's a culmination of our everydays, isn't it? So just for today, what can we all here in this group, where can we practice increasing the level of personal understanding and compassion when it comes to resistance? When we resist change or try to control things that are beyond our control, we create more stress and frustration for ourselves. So the idea is to constantly bring in the tools that we've been talking about for several months now, and to create those into daily rituals. For example, our daily gratitude practice on the Duchenne Method Facebook group page. Just checking in. And if you've been on the page, you've noticed that there's a continuity, right? People are showing up, people are sharing, because there is a sense of support there. So if you want extra support, Chelsea, with help with stopping smoking, join us more frequently on our gratitude page and see how the entire community rises with you. A high tide rises all ships. And it's about investing presence and just being there and just sharing about your progress. It's inspiring for us all. Finding balance between taking action where we can and accepting the things that we cannot change. Accepting the things that we cannot change. That is a big one, isn't it? A lot of the time with resistance, it's just also about what? Surrendering. And we talked about surrender a few weeks ago. If you don't remember it, you can just go to my YouTube channel, Art of Alignment Academy, and maybe review that and see how can you integrate more surrendering in your life, especially when it comes to resistance, because the fighting can be helpful up to a certain extent. We can continue to move through things. I just don't think that we have to continuously move through difficult situations by fighting the whole way. It's a give and take. There are some parts where we are going to have to get sweaty. We are going to have to work extra hard. And at the same time, there are parts in there that we can integrate a little bit of fighting, right? We're moving forward. We have more gusto on certain days. And then on the days where you don't have gusto, when you're tired, to also allow and embrace that process. And of course, ultimately releasing our resistance obviously increases peace and acceptance in our lives, right? Now, in the mind-body alignment connection that I want to make with you, releasing resistance also acts as a hydration mechanism in the body. And you're going to say, but wait, Anne-Marie, how does this happen? How does releasing our resistance increase hydration in the body? And what I mean by hydration is a body, a physiology filled with movement from the inside, right? That all of your hydration pumps and systems are working effectively in your body. So I was just reading the notes there. Thank you for all your support for one another. I love that. Okay, so how does releasing resistance create more hydration system, increases hydration movement in your body? Well, the first thing is that if you release your attachment to resistance, you're actually reducing stress and tension in the body. And this also happens frequently unconsciously. So by surrendering, by letting go of what you cannot change, you're actually reducing tension and stress in your body, which is so important, because when we experience resistance, right, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, the body responds by activating the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, freeze response system. The sympathetic system is your fight, flight, freeze response. So if you're continuously experiencing resistance, you're upping the fight, flight, freeze response in your body. And of course, this leads to an increase in stress hormones, for example, cortisol and adrenaline. And they can have a super negative impact on the body over time. Now, cortisol and adrenaline are not always bad for the body. In this case, and I want to be very specific about this, if you are consistently holding on to resistance, you will increase your hormones, those two hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, in a way that will affect your physiology negatively over time. So if you're finding yourself resisting all the time, that might look like you being defensive. That might be like you taking things very personally. So think about it for a moment. Do you tend to take things very personally in your life? I'd love to hear from you. Do you tend to take things very personally? Are you defensive when somebody says something to you? Do you tend to kind of refuse it right away? Or do you allow for the information to come in and to settle in and to see if it might have some value or validation? Now, of course, if it doesn't, we let it go. And at the same time, if you're someone who tends to respond by fighting or being negative or defending, then you're increasing the stress hormones in your body, which over time will create conditions such as migraines. You will develop migraines. Your digestive system will get blocked. There's lots and lots that happens in the digestive system. You can develop serious back pain, in particular, lower back pain. You can actually start to clog up your entire lymphatic system when you have too much adrenaline and cortisol being pumped out in your body because you are resisting something. The body is infinitely intelligent and will heal itself as soon as we start to release our attachment to resisting change or to resisting what cannot be changed. Instead, the new vision is to look toward what can we do about it? What can I change? How can I make incremental changes in my life to move myself toward the direction that I want to go in? And you'll notice almost at every talk, we're talking about small incremental changes, not big overnight blow up changes. It's usually always with small incremental changes. Chronic stress has been linked to a range of health problems, obviously, which include heart problems, diseases, diabetes, and immune system dysfunction. So if you are someone who is living in a state of resistance, or if you know someone who is very resistant to change or to new ideas, or who tends to have a defense mechanism that is very lit up, you might want to invite them into our sacred circle of creation, either on the Facebook group page or invite them to watch some of these videos. This is free information, right? People can tap into it at any time on Art of Alignment Academy YouTube channel, so that people start to hear different language, that people can start to connect to a different type of environment. So immune system dysfunction is very high on the list of people who have a lot of resistance in their life, resistance to a variety of possibilities in their lives. Now, what happens by releasing resistance? We activate the parasympathetic nervous system, right? The parasympathetic nervous system, which is the body's rest and digest response. So this response, right, the rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system, leads to a decrease in stress hormones and increase in feeling good hormones, such as dopamine and serotonin. So your sympathetic nervous system is your fight, flight, freeze response. And when that is activated through resistance, through no's, I'm not going to observe where I can grow, where I can change, then you usually increase your stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Now, when you start to accept things as they are without resisting and fighting them all the time, you are bringing your physiology to a state of rest and digest. This is your parasympathetic nervous system. And this one releases good hormones such as dopamine and serotonin. Releasing resistance. Here's the hydration part, my friends. Releasing resistance improves circulation, reduces inflammation, and boosts your immune system. So you don't really have to take anything, but what is needed is a change in perspective in life for us to reset our mindset, to view things differently, so that your internal circulatory system gets to flow and flush more effectively. And that's because when we hold on to resistance, you create tension and constriction in your body. If there's tension and constriction in your body, nothing is flowing. Your fluid system is not flowing. So that impedes blood flow. And ultimately, it creates an environment that is less conducive to healing. Less conducive to healing. Does that make sense? Is everyone tracking with me? Any questions or comments this morning about resistance and what it does to the body? Now I'm going to give you some possible solutions as to, well, okay, so this is all good information, but what can we do, right? What can we actually do to help us reduce resistance in our lives? So give me some feedback, a heads up if you have any questions or comments. Is this helpful? Are you learning something new? Great. Chelsea is tracking with me. I appreciate that. Any questions, any insights, please be sure to make this an interactive group so that we might support one another. Jenny says yes. Awesome. Okay, my friends. Any other questions or comments or affirmations? Helpful to me. Okay, so possible solutions to help you to release resistance. We're going to go with the physiology first, okay? Hydrating your fascial system. How do we hydrate our fascial system? Well, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be offering you a series of videos on dynamic movement that I will be doing with Henry, who is actually on this call today. Henry is a Duchenne method coach. He's done the coaching program with me a couple of years ago now already, and he's going to be part of this new online and live program I'm launching actually in September. But Henry and I are going to be working together at the end of the month to create a series of dynamic movements that will help with the fascial flow to get your system hydrated and moving. Okay, so that's one of the possible solutions. Also, very gentle foam rolling. So to regulate your nervous system. Now, I'm talking about gentle foam rolling, not foam rolling where you are going to be crushing your nervous system or your muscles, right? Some people do foam rolling in a very tough way. They really like push through. And what I'm suggesting is actually more of a slide, of a glide. So you have a foam roller. The one that I recommend the most, I would say, is the Melt Method foam roller, because it's very soft and flexible. It's a really good product. I use it all the time. And if you go to Melt Method on YouTube, you're going to find a plethora of videos that can help you to regulate your nervous system. And in so doing, you are hydrating your internal, let's say, hardware, your internal passages, where if you flow with more consistency, you will tend to be also in a better mood, right? You're releasing resistance. The tendency is that you'll get in a better mood. So Henry says, yay. Lorianne, hi, you're here. Wonderful. Nice to see you here. What's foam rolling? So a foam roller, let me get mine. Hold on. Oh. Jenny, this is my foam roller. Can everybody see this? Okay, and this one is from Sue Hitzman, I use, there's the camera, the Melt Method foam roller. Okay. And so what you do with it, Jenny, this is a gentle and easy foam roller. See, it actually bends. It's really fantastic. And what you do on it is, you can roll your neck lying down, you roll your back, you roll your lower back, you can roll the inside of your arms, you can roll on the side of your arms. You can use this for many, many applications for the body. It's like a fat pool noodle. Exactly. It is like a fat pool noodle. And so what I'll do in the notes today is I'll send some information about how you can get more info and where you can actually follow on YouTube these really wonderful exercises to regulate your nervous system. By the way, Jenny, this is something that Maeve might really love to do also. It's really, and also for your boys, because for sure, for Mac, who's a fervent martial artist, this is like, if you were coming in for a bodywork session with me, nothing really replaces hands-on bodywork, right? However, this could be a close second, is what I would say. This would be a close second. Yeah, excellent, Jenny. Yeah, I think this might be very helpful for Maeve. So I'll send you the information in the Duchenne Method Facebook group page after where you can get it. And then there's tons of YouTube videos that can help with that. And Sue created a really beautiful, Sue Hitzman is the creator of the Melt Method, and I really love her work, and she's totally lovely. Okay, so what can we do to assist us with releasing resistance? Foam rolling, like I just showed you, the dynamic movement series that are coming up very shortly. As soon as Henry and I get this videotaped in a couple of weeks, I'm excited to share this with you. We keep growing our library of offers, right? Then, of course, there's meditation. Now, meditation is one way. You can listen to meditation with headphones also. If it's too hard for you to sit alone in silence, you can listen to something that is uplifting. Some of the meditations that I listen to, there's lots of Abraham Hicks that I listen to. I will listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation techniques. I also love to listen to Insight Timer. It's an app that has a ton of really great, helpful meditations that really restore and help to calm down my nervous system. Deep breathing, of course, also helps. So you can just go on YouTube and you can type in deep breathing exercises. There will be a plethora of them. Several weeks ago, a few months ago, I offered the book Breathing, which Breath by James Nestor. Here it is. This is one of the books that I've read that has helped me tremendously with learning all about breathing. So this is a really good book for anybody who might be interested. And so these are some ways that you can really help yourself with doing some daily practices, very simple and effective. So there's also the, everybody has seen the ice baths, the cold plunges. That is a very, very effective way. Even a cold shower is very effective to boost up your parasympathetic nervous system, to regulate and create healthier, positive hormones in your body. So when you do these, when you practice these on a regular basis, it really helps to promote relaxation. It slows down your heart rate and it increases your digestive activity. Isn't that amazing? Just these simple tools that we can use on a daily basis. Chelsea says, yes, I recognize needing more tools to help regulate both my emotions and nervous system. Can you please repeat the YouTube to look up again? Yeah, it's Melt Method, MELT, the Melt Method. That's the foam roller I showed you. And I'll put it in the Duchenne Method Facebook group page. The creator of the Melt Method is Sue Hitzman. She is lovely. She's really well-versed. She used to be a body worker as well. And then she created this technique to really help us regulate our bodies. But the most beautiful thing about her work is what she's designed. So this foam roller is soft. And so it's very, very good because there is a compression component to it and then a release component to it. I think you'll really like that. Thank you for the question, Chelsea. And Jenny says she loves what the therapist called joint compression stuff. Yes. So I'll bet she'd love this. Thank you. You're welcome, hon. Yes, joint compression is very good. Actually, just a quick little thing on joint compression, which I use a lot in my work as well for my hands-on body work, is that actually when you compress joints, it's very interesting. You compress the joint and then you release it and it innervates the hydration system. So it's like a pump. So when you compress the joints, there's also a component of safety that shows up in the body. So as soon as we take shoulder, if I'll do it on a shoulder or a hip, I do it a lot around the hip area because there's a lot of trauma around the hips, sexual trauma that has happened in people's lives. And when I do my manipulation and I do compression of the hip joint, there is first of all a compression which feels safe, like I'm melting into the bones of the person's hips, and then I gently release it, and then that creates a hydration pump. So there's a sensation of openness, of release. So it makes perfect sense what you're sharing about why Maeve might like the joint compression experience. Thank you for that, Jenny, for that comment. Wonderful. Okay. How are we doing? Is this helpful? Do you find this helpful today? Your class today helpful? Any other insights that you may have? And the other thing I want to ask you is, start to maybe consider these small practices on a daily basis, because I'm finding out as I'm getting older, there's no overnight miracle. The overnight pill, it's not really true, or I've not found it to be true. And I think that integrating these very small, easy systems on a daily basis, it doesn't have to be for a long time every day, but usually in the morning, as I've shared with you, I roll out of bed, I use the bathroom, and I go outside first thing in the morning. I don't always record it because I'm managing also my own relationship with social media, because I could be recording myself all day long, right? You do this, you do that, and you take a walk, you talk about the morning. I love doing it, and I do it when I can and also when I want. So there's another piece of this with the social media. When you are moving into creating these daily habits for yourself, to notice what feels good to you. So for me this morning, I rolled out of bed and I went outside for my walk, and it was so gray and kind of muggy and a little bit kind of a mysterious type of gray morning where it was rainy, and I felt really precious. I felt precious in the space with it. I felt there was a precious energy there. So I didn't really want to pull out my phone and record myself and talk about it. I wanted silence. I wanted to have that experience of silence. So to give yourselves that possibility also when you do things. So when you are confronted with resistance, this will happen with what's going on in the world today. Right? It's happening with how we're looking at our political system, certainly in the United States, but globally. We are going through a major shift. Can we just say amen to that? We are going through a major shift. There is a shift with politics. There is a shift with Mother Earth. There is a shift with economics. There is a shift in our own personal lives. We are all being affected right now. And so it might be normal for resistance to arise. And how do we deal with it? Well, like everything else, first and foremost, with compassion. Hold back before you say something that might be hurtful, before you say something to diminish another, even though they might sound crazy. And a lot of people sound crazy right now. Hey, I'm not saying they're not. It's just that there's so much tension and violence in the world right now. We really, as a group, our small group here, we really need to be the creative leaders of our lives, right? To show the way in a sense. And that doesn't mean we don't fight. I'm not going to extremes. There is a balance with everything. Amen. Amen to that, Jenny. There's a lot of craziness. There's a lot of killings in the United States. Dear God, more and more people are getting their hands on guns because people believe that they should have guns. It's not easy to be in life right now and There are ways for us to connect on a consistent basis where we are supported with one another. For example, we meet here every Monday. You have resources. You can find certainly these talks on YouTube and other things that I share with you. And now it's up to you, my friends. Tiny little steps every single day. Try something new. Build yourself from the inside out. You know, these times won't last forever. Things always shift and shape shift and change. So we have to maintain a sense of personal integrity with ourselves. So when resistance shows up, we can embrace it too. We can embrace resistance and just be in conversation with it. Why is this showing up? What is happening? There's always a deeper layer and reason for it. Henry says, present moment is so powerful in the middle of so much social media stimulus. Love the gray days. Yes, me too. Yeah, the social media is something else, right? So easy does it, my friends. Yes, amen to that. Thank you, Chelsea. All right, my friends. So in conclusion to our talk on resistance, the less we clench, the less we grasp, the more our body releases, leaving us feeling free, fluid, and flexible. So when we're doing physical activity, it's very helpful, isn't it, to process tension? I know those of you who do physical activity feel that. I certainly do. And even though resistance may seem like a negative force, and it is, right? It might also seem like a negative force that creates obstacles and stands in the way of progress. It can also actually be a force for good in certain times. So I'm going to give you a little reverse option here. So to look at everything as both something that we need to release if it's bringing us a sense of limitation or pain or hurt in our bodies, and then also how might resistance be a force for good? Well, it can be a force for good for personal growth and empowerment in dose, right? We microdose resistance. When we resist, for example, negative self-talk or limiting beliefs, now we're standing up for ourselves and we're creating space for positive change. So resisting negative self-talk can be a positive use of resistance, right? This helps us to build confidence, resilience, and ultimately, it leads us to a greater sense of self-awareness and self-acceptance. When resistance is grounded in compassion, intention, and a desire for positive change, then it's a really powerful force for good. Can I get an amen to that? All right, there's my little surprise. I just wanted to share with you the Serenity Prayer, which I'm sure that many of you have heard it before, but I'm going to share it with you right now. The Serenity Prayer. It's a prayer that has been widely used, especially in recovery programs. And it's often attributed to the theologian known as Reinhold Niebuhr. Reinhold Niebuhr. Apparently, he might have been the one to create this beautiful prayer. So here's the most common version of it. And if you know it, say it with me. Dear God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Let's say it together one more time. Dear God, dear universe, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. What's beautiful about this prayer is that it acknowledges human struggle. It acknowledges human challenges, and it's a soothing prayer. If you've said it with me, you might have felt a certain soothing on the inside. It's okay. I think that we need to soothe ourselves more than punish ourselves. Chelsea says, I'm curious about what you think of detachment in the sense of as it is taught in 12-step program or just in general. Well, perfect, right? I'm not sure that I know exactly what detachment is in the sense of the 12-step program. I think that, again, like resistance, detachment can be a very healthy way of moving through life when we are grasping. So this is why I love the serenity prayer, Chelsea, because it's a soothing, loving, tender prayer. It's an acceptance. There's a forgiveness in the serenity prayer. To God, give me the courage to change the things that I can't, and the wisdom to accept things as they are. So there's a sense of beautiful surrender in that. I'm one who believes in pushing and in moving forward, and then to also be in awareness of when I am pushing or moving forward too quickly. So attachment or detachment for me is really important when I realize that I'm holding on so tightly. Anything that brings me into the extremes, that I'm pushing too hard. Detachment is the same thing. If I'm working so hard to detach myself from something, there's got to be something underneath there. So instead, what I practice is to come back to center. This is always my place, right? To come back to center and to check in with my body to see where might my desire to detach come from. Is it something that it brings me a sense of relief, of openness, or is it something that pulls me in or that tenses me? I always check in with my body, Chelsea. So detachment from things that hurt me is a good thing. If I'm detaching from something just because I can't deal with it, part of that might require a deeper exploration. Why am I looking to detach myself from something, especially if I've chosen it a lot of the time? So it's a little bit more of a process, and I don't know if my answer is helpful to you in the way that you're asking. I hope it is. You can also, please, all of you, if you want to check in with me, you know that I'm here every Monday, but you can also make an appointment for a session with me. And I do these Zoom calls, right? It's not always live. A lot of them are over Zoom, and we can do a full mind-body realignment session together in one session, and to explore those questions a little bit more specifically than on the live. And you can easily make an appointment through my website, artofalignmentacademy.com. And just reach out, just send me a message and ask me, how can I support you? And then sometimes doing a check-in session can be very, very helpful. Sometimes we need a little bit of a bounce, a little springboard from which to go into the next step. I think you're due. Yeah. Okay. Very good. I'll put the link in the Facebook group page. So it might be a good time. And springtime also. So for a lot of people, it's a really good time to check in right now, especially if you're going through a big transformation or you're needing support to move yourself forward. It can be super helpful to just get that extra push and to discuss things more on a one-on-one basis to help you maybe see beyond where there might be limitations. It's very hard to be able to see all of it to see all of it alone. We all need perspective. We all need support and guidance. So if that's helpful to you, I hope to see you on my calendar, and so that we might have a beautiful session together. Thank you for the question, Chelsea. All right, my friends, we are at the end of our class for today. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions. Please feel free to invite your friends to the Duchenne Method Facebook group page. It would be lovely to increase our group of mindful communicators, to share this information with as many people as possible. I know there's a lot of information out there right now. And if it can help someone that you think could benefit from this, and everything is free, obviously, all of the videos are on YouTube. And if you want some support, please do feel free to reach out to me. I'm right here. Thank you so much for being here today. I love you all. I'm sending you love. I'm sending you a rested nervous system this week. Take your time. Move through life one sacred step at a time. No rush. Everything is on point. What if life was meant to be working for you? Just play with that. What if life is here to work for us, not against us? And let that float around you like little butterflies. May you have a wonderful week. I love you. I look forward to seeing you next week. Blessings to all. Bye now.